Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Columbus Crew Analyst. This is Jake Holfinger, and tonight we will be going over a match preview for the game tonight against Montreal. And so, first, I'd like to start off with a few stats about the two teams, and I'll start with attacking. So, the Crew have averaged 1.7 goals per 90 minutes, or goals per game, and that puts them 10th out of 30 in the MLS, while Montreal has 0.5 goals per game, which ranks them dead last at 30th. And so their output isn't good in this, but we'll see this trend throughout this whole preview is that Montreal's expected output is actually a lot larger than their actual output. And so when you look at XG, which is the expected amount of goals the team should have, and the way that that's calculated is that every time someone takes a shot, there's models and stuff that will calculate the percent chance that the shot will become a goal, and then all of those shots are added up, all of the chances are added up, and then you get the team's XG for a game. And so Montreal has averaged 1.07 XG per 90. And per 90 means per 90 minutes, which in 90 minutes is one game. So when you say XG per 90, that's XG per game. So the Montreal has averaged 1.07 XG per 90, which puts them 27th, which is marginally better than 30th, but it's not good still. They're third to last. But the Crew have 1.57 XG per 90, which puts them 11th. So they are above average with how much expected goals they have per game. And defensively, the Crew, on average, give up 1 goal per game. And that has them tied for 4th. So the Crew have a very good defense and give up very few goals. While Montreal has 1.3 goals against per 90. And that has them tied for 17th, so they're about average for giving up goals. But if you look at the average XG against per game, the Crew have 0.95 XG against per 90, which ranks them 11th. So they're a little bit above average, but slightly better. And Montreal has 0.87 XG against per 90, which has them 8th. So the Crew, with expected goals against, Montreal actually should have a slightly better defense than the Crew, which you wouldn't necessarily expect since Montreal is ranked second to last in the table. And then the Crew have average 59.2% possession, and it's first in the MLS, so the Crew have the most of the ball of any team in the league. And Montreal averages 53.2% possession, which is above average, and that ranks them 7th. So they actually do control possession despite scoring the least amount of goals in the league. And then the Crew actually already played Montreal earlier this season, and that one was at Columbus was home in that game, and the Crew won 2-1. The XG for that was 1.6 XG for the Crew to 0.5 XG for Montreal. So the Crew deserved to win, that was by a good amount, and they deservedly won 2-1. The XG kind of played out how the score did, and the Crew deserved to win that game. It wasn't a blowout, though. And the possession was 56% possession to the Crew compared to 44% for Montreal. So the Crew controlled possession, but not by a lot. It wasn't a landslide. And the Crew had 4 big chances, or chances that were greater than 0.1 XG, while Montreal only had 1, and they scored that 1. The Crew missed 2 big chances, and 2 of their biggest chances they missed. They missed 2 sitters. So it could have been 4-1 if they finished their chances. And so if you look at the table, for the regular table, the Crew are 2nd overall in the table, or 3rd, depending on what you rank, 2nd as a tiebreaker. In Montreal are 29th. So very opposite ends of the table. When you look at the stats, they're really not that different. Montreal is a lot better than what the regular table indicates. And if you look at the XG table, which is also on the left of your screen, the Crew are actually 12th in the XG table, and they dropped down after the game against Philadelphia because they had less XG than Philadelphia, so they were awarded a loss. So the Crew are 12th, and Montreal is actually 17th, 12 places higher than where they are in the actual table. So the Crew and Montreal are actually 5 places apart, which actually means that they're comparable teams, and Montreal should be doing a lot better than they are. And then, expected points for the Crew are 21, which aren't on there. I had to crop the table, and 18 for Montreal. And the Crew's goal differential is +8, while Montreal's is -10. So 18 goals difference there, and that's bad for Montreal and good for the Crew. But if you look at the expected goal differential, the Crew have +4.2, and Montreal has -1.2. So there's a big difference there. It's cut the difference between them in half. So again, the Crew are doing slightly worse, are expected to do slightly worse than they have been, and it should be doing a lot better than they are and have been. And then if we look at the records, the Crew are 5-4-1, 4 being draws and 1 loss, and Montreal are 1-3-8. So almost opposites there. Montreal only has 1 win this whole season, while the Crew have 7. So there's a big difference there. And if you look at the Crew's away record, they are 3-2-0, so undefeated away. And Montreal is actually still winless at home. They're 0-1-2. But what's interesting with that is they've only played 3 games at home versus 9 away. They played 9 away and 3 at home. So that also makes the record should make the record worse than it is, because you usually win more games at home. And now I'll go over my preferred lineup, my lineup that I would pick. And something with this game that I would say, I didn't pick a very rotated lineup, but we play Cincinnati this weekend, so we should look to rotate our lineup and get subs on early. Nancy, I know, likes to play the team and not sub too often and leave the team on there, but especially the key players. But I would say that we should look to sub our key players. Hopefully we're ahead so we can do that and get them a rest before the big game against Cincinnati over the weekend. And so the lineup that I picked is Schulte in goal, obviously. I've gone for Moreira, Cheberko, and Amundsen. I've chosen to move Zawadzki to the midfield and play with Nagbe in the middle. And I've left Shambost out. And the reason why I've done that is he actually has covered the most distance out of anyone in the MLS. He runs a ton. And I feel like with him covering so much distance, he needs a rest and not play 3 games in 7 days. So rest him for Cincinnati, and maybe we can bring him on if we're losing or looking to score a win, or we can bring him on in the 60th minute or something. But I would say we should start him off to give him a rest. And then as our wing backs, I go Farsi and Arston. We don't really have a right wing back, a backup right wing back. We have Herrera, who's injured, who can play the right wing back. And we have Lapalainen, I think his name is. And he could start instead of Arston, but I think that we don't need to rotate. But a sub probably would be useful. He pretty much played the whole game, played 89 minutes, I think it was, last game against Philadelphia. So I think a sub for bringing Lapalainen on could be good. I've gone for Rossi, Gazdag, and Russell Rowe. Rossi and Gazdag, I feel like, are locks. There are 2 of our highest paid players, and I think both of them probably should start unless we want to rotate, but I don't think that's necessarily needed. And then Russell Rowe, it's kind of a toss-up. It's a toss-up between him and AZ. It really, I debated about this, and I had trouble picking one. The reason why I've gone Russell Rowe is because AZ started last game, and I think maybe give Russell Rowe one more chance to prove himself before the game against Cincinnati, so that way Russell Rowe, that he can try to prove himself, so in that way give him a little extra edge to try to perform better. And then we can have a more educated pick for the game against Saturday for which if we want to start AZ or Russell Rowe. And I would definitely say that we need to bring AZ on, or whichever one Nancy decides to start. He needs to bring the other one on in the 60th minute. Bring them on early, give them enough time to get settled into the game, and also hopefully bring off Rossi or Gazdag to give them a rest. Rossi played all 90 on Saturday, so giving him a rest would be good. Yeah, so let's see if there's anything else that I'm missing. I would definitely go for subs. I would bring Ibrahim on maybe in the attack for Gazdag or Rossi. Shambosa said, or we could bring on Sedic, Taha, or Jones. Jones doesn't really... Nancy never really plays Jones, so I would assume Sedic or Taha would come on. Maybe giving Nagby would be a good idea. He's getting older. Giving him a break probably wouldn't be a bad idea. We could bring on, Lapalainen for Arfstin. He's played a lot. I would say... And this would be the key, probably the key to the game for this game is to score early and finish our chances and score early. So that way, because if we can score early, Montreal only has one win this whole season, 6 points overall. They're like second to last. They're going to, if we're like one of the best teams in the league, if we can score early, then that would mean that their heads will drop, they'll get discouraged, and hopefully we can get a second. And then once we're up by 2, we have the game in control. We can make some subs, bring off our best players, rest them for the Hellas Real Derby on Saturday. And then another key that I have, maybe not as important as the first one, but another key would be not to gift Montreal anything. No, don't do anything stupid at building out of the back. If you need to, play it long. Because Montreal, even though their XG is a little bit higher, they're last in goals scored. They're not going to have any confidence in finishing. Just make it hard for them. Don't gift them goals. Their defense is pretty good. They're top 10 in XG allowed. So we don't want to gift them anything. If they go up, they might just try to play defensive conservative and it might be hard. We might have trouble scoring. And then if they do score first, then we're going to be chasing the game. We might have to leave Rossi and Gazdag and Nagby on and then have them be maybe not 100% for the game on Saturday. So I'd say key to the game is get the first score early, get the first goal. That will discourage them, preferably early, so that way their heads will drop, and then we can get a second and a third, hopefully. And then one last thing is the predictions. So, and I posted this earlier on the Instagram, and the crew when I used XG. To make the predictions because it's a better indicator than goals of which team is actually better and how they should have been doing. So the crew have a 38.05% chance of winning. There's a 27.44% chance of a draw and a 34.51% chance of Montreal winning. So the crew are marginally have a better chance of winning. It is away at Montreal, so you have to give some weight to that. So that's a way to make Montreal probably have a little bit better percentage. And the expected goals would be 1.25 for the crew against 1.18 for Montreal. And so, again, marginally favors the crew, but it's very close. But then I decided, this is close. Montreal is like almost dead last in the table. They only have 6 points, 1 win on the season. So I wanted to look at what if instead of doing XG, I used goals to make the predictions. And when I used goals, the crew had a 54% chance of winning, 28% chance of a draw, and 17% chance of Montreal winning. And so I would say, there's a huge difference between if you use XG or goals. And this is like a weird case because Montreal is underperforming by so much by their XG. There's a lot of games where they have more XG than their opponent, but they lost. So that is something that we have to look at. And then the expected goals would be 1.35 for the crew, so a little bit higher, but only 0.63 for Montreal. So a lot lower for Montreal. They really have struggled to score goals, even though their XG has been Slightly higher. I mean, not good, but I mean it's been slightly higher. Um, if they scored as many xGs as they have, they would score at least 1 goal per game, which is twice as much as they have actually scored. So I mean, overall, I mean, I would say still use the xG as an indicator of who will probably win, but maybe since Montreal actually hasn't performed well, they're probably low on confidence. I would still bump the number down a little bit from 54, or bump the number up for the Crew from 38, maybe around 40 or 45% chance for the Crew, because the model that I made doesn't factor in uh, like confidence or anything like that. It just uses XG. So, um, yeah, so I would maybe bump that percentage up a little bit, but I mean, I would still say that XG is probably a better indicator of the chance that they will win. So, yeah, that's my match preview. Sadly, I have my own soccer game, so I won't be able to do a match watch along for Montreal tonight. But hopefully it goes well. Glory to Columbus. I'm Jake Hallfinger. Thanks for watching the Columbus Crew Analyst.